I'm Ahava Leibtag, and today I'm joined by my good friend, Ben Cash, CEO at Reason One, to talk about digital marketing, websites, and more. You've got questions, we've got answers. Let's get into it. So, what are you most excited about in healthcare marketing right now as we begin 2026?
So many things I could start to rattle off here, but we're fresh off of conference season, and I love the community, and there's always things that are sort of distilling, and I'm sort of percolating on afterwards. And I think about what the folks who put together the Solution Central were doing, and I think about them, and I think about so much change that's happening in the agency world, so much change that's happening in health systems, and I think about fractional expertise and collaboration and how we solve these big complex problems, and we're doing it in different ways. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I'm happy to dive into the sort of the weeds of that if
You
that's yeah.
should. I think it's really interesting. I had a professor who once said to me, you should know something about everything and everything about something. And I always think about that when, hospitals come to us and they're talking to us about their content and they're like, we need somebody to answer these questions for us. And I'm like, I can answer those questions for you, but I can't really answer anything else. And I think you're 100% right. I think that there is a real value in that sort of boutique expertise. And I do think that for a lot of us, or a lot in the past, full service looked great. But it's just so complex now that it's almost like, unless that full service firm hires experts in everything, which very few do, it's very hard to find what you need in a one-stop shopping agency. But I'd love to hear what you're
I agree with that. When I think about this excitement around fractional expertise and collaboration, there's a couple things that come to mind for me. One is just some of the challenges that individuals are going through, right? Especially teams. There's a lot of turnover in health systems right now. There's also in agencies, right? Especially in some of the PE-backed firms, just a lot of turnover. There's tighter hiring budgets where people are having to do more with less. All that while tech is getting more complex, there's more specialization. So the ask is getting bigger and more and deeper. After the pandemic, people want flexibility. They want remote work, they want flexible schedules to raise their kids and caregiving. So it's like there's just so many changes happening for individuals. And then I also look at like the agency side. Now I'm biased on this because this is our philosophy, but I think the best agencies focus on what they do really well and they build partnerships for the rest. And I see some of the bigger agencies, right? PE backed agencies, not throwing any shade, but I just see the struggles of some of my friends in my community here. The concept of mashing up individual companies to try and accomplish that sort of one stop shop, as you said, is it's just not working. You've got people who built these individual companies with their own strategies and ethos and the way they solve problems. So you got competing strategies. You've got often a lack of integration and cross collaboration. And frankly, like people are motivated more by metrics than mission. And for me, that last one is key, right? And because I think a lot of people who get into healthcare and stay in it for the long haul, they do it because they love the people and they love making a difference. And they all have that personal story at the heart of their motivation, why they're still in it. Whether it's private equity or internal politics or mismanagement, right? They want to get back to why they got to this in the first place, right? At the same time, being in control of who you work with and what you work on is a great way to do that. I see this happening in other industries too. When you're turn yourself into a fractional consultant or fractional problem solver, it allows you to be strategic, objective. You're solving problems from the outside rather than trying to fight from the inside. And you're not putting all the organizational baggage things in your backpack. I've had this conversation with so many people at the conferences. I just love it because everybody gets to do what they do really well. And we all get to work together in the way that we want to. And healthcare's challenges would be better solved if we could all figure out how to do what we do well and collaborate better.
I agree with you 100%. I will say that on looking at what's happened and the mergers and the acquisitions over the last 2 years, where I feel sad for is the clients who really depended on those boutique expert shops to do
Yeah.
the thing that they needed to do for them. And now I think it's much harder for them to get that work done the way that they need to. I
Yeah.
also think the modern day CMO does not believe in full service. They've really recognized
Interesting.
that they don't want to pay huge fees when they can get smaller boutique agencies to do better work for less because they're not covering
Yeah.
as much overhead. I'm excited to see what happens. I love the collaboration. I've talked to a few people at Solution Central since the conference. They're just great. And I think it's very exciting times. And I think all the things that you mentioned are really the combination of why the tide is turning and all the vendors are looking at each other and saying, okay, how can we make this work? Because like
Yeah.
you said, it's just too advanced to have all the skills under one.
All in one. I think for some organizations, they see this as a problem, like, oh, it's fracturing, right? But I see it as like the future. This is the direction we want to go, and let's lean in.
We always tell our clients, if we're starting a big project, can we get all the vendors in the room when we kick off? And can we continue to have ongoing calls with them? Because that just makes everything smoother for everybody. I think when clients listen to that and they're like, okay, everybody can play nicely with each other and it doesn't have to feel like Game of Thrones, I just think that it really makes a difference for everybody. And you shouldn't work with a vendor who can't handle that kind of collaboration.
No, I agree. I do want to give a shout out to you. I know you're a partner in Health Stack Partners, and we got to spend some great time with you and Tom Brand and others at recent conferences. And I'm hoping that we got one of our first collaborations with y'all, like yay collaboration. So kudos to what you guys are doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And actually, part of why we're doing what we're doing is exactly what you said, which is that we watched the trauma of what happened over the last couple of years with all these mergers. And it's time for people to get back to the basics of getting what they really need from agencies. So reason one is certainly in that category. And I appreciate the work together. I think we're both going to learn a lot. And that's the best kind of collaboration.
Let's do it.
Speaking of things changing so much in the digital space, I would love to ask you what you think is hype and what you think is really the signal in the noise. Because sometimes we talk to clients and they're very nervous about things that we don't think that they should be nervous about. And we're kind of curious as to why they feel that way. My favorite one is our website's dead. And then what do you think is really real? What should people really be thinking about?
First, websites are not dead. They are certainly going to change and look different, but they've always changed, right?
Yeah.
And I think so, and obviously that gets into the whole AI thing. That's the low-hanging fruit in this conversation about hype versus not hype. And we're certainly in a hype bubble, if not a literal bubble that's going to burst soon around AI. Websites are not going away. People are not going to wholly be replaced. I think that was a lot of the hype. It's just not, we're not seeing it come true. And I don't think it's going to come true. But people and organizations that don't change, that don't embrace the change and don't see ways to use it as an opportunity, right? They will get left behind. AI is not going to replace a person, but a person who uses AI will replace someone who doesn't. That's the new immediate cliche. And I think it's true. And I think whether you're investing it for personal productivity or professional productivity, or even to enhance your output, I think it's something we have to play around with it. And we got to find that balance between how do I not lose what is unique for me and my humanness? And how do I take what will make me better?
I use it every single day, and I've created a lot of GPTs for myself. I have a sales GPT where I write the sales email and then I ask it, is there anything here that I could improve or whatever? And very often what it gives back to me, I just have to re-edit, but the suggestions aren't bad. It's just the execution doesn't really sound like me. And no matter how much I try to teach it my voice and tone, I recognize that I go back and forth with different kinds of prospects and different kind of clients. And that's the nuance it just can't grasp. It wants everything to fit into a box, right? It wants to be really consistent, which is fantastic on one level, but it's not fantastic for exactly what I'm using it for. And everybody's like, oh, that's going to change. It's going to get better. And I'm like, I don't know, because that's a human thing. And I don't think I just don't see it there.
I hope it helps people understand their me. Who am I? What is my personal brand? Because for me, as like a perfectionist who obsesses over getting messaging right, getting concepts right and things, it helps me get to me quicker.
Yeah.
So it's not going to replace me, and it can't replace my voice, the way that I think and solve problems, but it can help me get there quicker and churn less in the process.
What's your favorite prompt?
I don't think I have a favorite prompt, but I think my approach is not to obsess over the first prompt. I like to get messy, and it's the second, third, the fifth prompt, whatever, that I get excited about, because then I have something to react to. And I think where AI can get better is to ask us questions, right? Expertise is about learning what questions to ask. And AI is just not asking me anything. Like, start asking me good questions and I'll give you better answers. We'll get there quicker.
Yeah, the only question it asks is, what do you want me to execute on next?
Yeah.
These are my two favorite. My first one is I ask it something and then I say to it, before you complete this prompt, do you have any questions that will help you fulfill this better? Love that one.
Beautiful. Love that.
And the second one I love, which nobody here will be surprised about if they've ever watched me before, is fight with me. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love that one because it's so obsequious. So just tell me, like, argue back. Am I making assumptions that are wrong here? Am I missing anything? What will make you complete this prompt better at this point in the conversation? And I find that I would say it's like a 50-50 thing. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like, yes, here's what you're missing. And sometimes it's just like, that doesn't ring true to me, but that's okay because I'd rather have somebody say, here's what you're missing half the time than have no
Yeah.
one say it to me ever.
I'm totally going to steal those prompts, and I love using the word fight because I'm curious to see what it'll come back with if you use that word. But I think what you're talking about gets to sort of the truth underneath this, which is expertise is about trust. And if you got that friend that you go to the bar with and who's going to shoot straight with you and not bullshit, that's trust. Because if they just tell you what you want to hear, right? I'm sure like you and I have had plenty of bar conversations in Vegas and wherever. And I know you and I know you're not going to bullshit.
Yeah.
But AI, it hasn't figured that out yet, or the humans that are programming it have not figured that out yet. And I think that's the next level that will actually build trust is tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me I'm an idiot. Don't praise me. Kick me in the ass.
I do pride myself on being authentic. I am definitely always working on how to be authentic sensitively. So that's also always like a character growth thing. But I agree with you. I don't always trust it, particularly because it does hallucinate. Like I'll say to it, do you have a source for that? And it's like, maybe not. So you're like, it'll say to me, oh, you're absolutely right, Ahava. I shouldn't have said that without a source. It's like, stop being an intern and start being a thought partner. But it's great. I'm just very excited about what it can do from an agentic sense. And like, are we going to be able to have finally end-to-end attribution? I think that's the future state, and using it for content production or writing emails. I just don't think that's where it's at. I think it's just a really great productivity partner and can really help you get there faster. I like to call it your running start partner.
Yeah, I like that.
When I'm stuck in my thinking, like I'm building my strategy for 2026 and I'm like running PowerPoints through it and being like, where am I missing stuff? And it's like, well, let me tell you. And it's right a lot of the time about what I'm missing. It's just not always right about what I need. And that's okay. So you had, I think, I would say the most popular session at HCIC with the RFP session. That really got a lot of tongues wagging and it got a lot of people talking. Both clients and agencies are dissatisfied with the process. Yeah. In fact, I don't know anybody who likes it except procurement.
Yes.
What can be done to make it more successful and less painful?
There's so many things. Before that panel, we did a survey to understand what the sentiment was and what the pain points were and the ideas for improvement from both health systems and agency vendor side. We learned a lot in that process. And to your point, we learned fundamentally that people don't trust the process. They think that the scopes don't match, the subsequent scopes don't match the RFP process. And health systems don't think that the agency that they chose actually met expectations. So it's clearly broken. I think there were some top 10 system challenges. Would you like me to go down the top 10 for you here?
Maybe the top 5. If he wants the more, then reach out to Ben.
I'll give you the link to the downloads and things that give some tips, some templates and things to make it easier. But one of the big things for systems was developing project scope requirements was like the majority of marketers and IT folks there said developing those scope requirements was a challenge. And I think that revealed something about health systems challenges around RFPs, that one of the challenges is internal and one is external. And I think agencies often just think about their interactions, but they don't often understand the problems and the challenges that health systems have internally to even show up with that RFP or to get that thing out. Second is coordinating internal team schedules. Everybody's busy. Everybody has full-time jobs. How do you do that? We talked about having some ownership and accountability in that process before you start. Per our conversation about digital consultants and fractional expertise, a third-party consultant is a great way to get some objectivity and ownership of that. And I've seen some of the best RFPs I've participated in have been run by digital consultants rather than someone internally trying to, I'm going to throw this in my backpack now. Budget clarity and alignment was also a challenge for systems, both internal and external. And I'll talk about it in a second, how budget is also an elephant in the room for both agencies and health systems. Internal stakeholder alignment, and then last, reviewing and comparing proposals. So just a lot of challenges. On the agency side, not coincidentally, poorly defined project scope was their biggest challenge, right? So health systems' biggest challenge is to create them, and agencies are like, yeah, we see it, right?
My favorite part of an RFP is reading it again, and then making a list of 100 questions. Because what exactly do you want us to do here?
Yeah.
I'm still unclear. And
Yeah.
also the constant repetition. Who are you? How financially secure are you? Later, who are you? How financially secure? Like, does anybody read this thing? Like, it needs to
Yeah,
be
no.
ChatGPT. Where are you repeating yourselves?
I think the problem is even in the term request for proposals.
Yes.
It's inherent. This is not a proposal.
No.
And of course, if procurement is involved, they want it to be an executable contract day one, right? But what the mindset shift should be, I am choosing a partner. Think about it like, and I think there was somebody there that had a great analogy. This is like a job interview. You're interviewing someone you're going to hire. It's about the human in front of you, the people in front of you, and not about the roles and responsibilities or the scope itself.
And you need a lot more than one meeting for that.
A lot more than one meeting.
I'm seeing systems go towards something which I think is really interesting, which is they're asking you to come in first and talk to them about exactly what it is that you do. And then building an RFP. And I'm hoping that they're talking to more than one agency at a time, and then building an RFP that really addresses like those things. What about the mistrust that there's already been a decision made and they're just doing this because they have to?
Yeah, it made me think of this meme that I created once for our team. And it was like a perfume ad and this guy up there, right? And it's like the perfume bottle and it says incumbent when something doesn't smell quite right.
Like when you read an RFP and you're like, this was written for somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that is a challenge. I think many get into it honestly wanting to find the right partner. And if their current agency is the right partner, awesome. They should stay in there. But I've also been involved in RFPs where it was a requirement to put it out to RFP. And so they're putting it out there like there's a chance for everybody else, but really their plan is to stick with them. They just have to do it. I can empathize with the people running that because they're required by state law or whatever the things are to do that. But man, I wish we could figure out a way to not waste so many agencies' time in that process. And frankly, not to waste the health system's time because it's a big time suck.
100%. So I have a couple of ideas about that. And a lot of our clients are part of state systems where they really do have a legal requirement to do that. And so I think there's a lot to this process. But at the end of the day, one of the things that I found really interesting about RFPs is that you may not get that particular project, but they may come back to you later and say, we really want to use you for this. Like, we were really impressed with your presentation and we didn't feel you were right for this, but we would really love to use you for this. Or, which is sad, the vendor we chose couldn't do the job. We should have gone with you. Can you come?
Yeah.
And that really happens most of the time when we sub to a prime and that prime didn't get chosen for the whole piece, but the content piece, they couldn't choose us because we weren't part of that RFP. But then later they come back and they're like, we need you as the content partner. So that happens to us.
I want to just maybe tie back to the collaboration thing in the beginning. That's actually one of my favorite places to collaborate is going after new business together. We partner with other agencies all the time. And because we believe that people should focus on their strengths and then grow skills through collaboration, we put that out there as a strength, not a weakness, not a thing to be hidden. So many agencies want to white label. They're concerned that if they can't puff their chests up and say, we do it all, that they're not going to be trusted or valued. But it's not the case.
I think it's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
I have very often gotten that feedback. We love that you did best in breed because it showed us that you understand that these things, back to the conversation, right? These things are collaborative and they overlap, but you really need to know that specific thing. In the 2 minutes that we have left, give me the rundown on other things agencies don't like about RFPs.
Oh gosh, that would take more than 2 minutes. I will send you the link so when you post this, people can download it. But I think it fundamentally starts with communication, better communication. Choose a partner. Don't try to build a solution or contract in this phase. this is the point of maximum ignorance, right? And recognize that ambiguity, try to find someone who you trust and the community trusts. And the project is where you solve those things and where you get into the weeds of those details. And I think if people have that mindset, things will get better. Although I'm just going to go one advocacy for, please share your budget, people. Please share your budget. These solutions, and I'm sure you've done this as well, can be very inexpensive to very expensive because the different problems that we're solving. And when we have budget guidance, it doesn't mean that we're just going to like maximize it. There's a trust factor with that. Truly, the right agencies, the right partners want to right size the solution for your budget. They really do. And the more transparent and helpful you are with that guidance, the better responses you're going to get.
I agree with you. And I know the reason why, because they say, well, if we publish a budget, you're going to tell us that's how much it costs. And I'm like, actually, we may tell you it costs more than that. Or we might tell you it costs way less than that. So it's sort of like cutting off your nose to spite your face. I will say one thing I've really learned about RFPs: ask when you lose and ask when you win, why you lost and why you won.
Yes,
Because it is such valuable information.
it is.
Most people will tell you. They will come back and say, okay, let me tell you what we didn't like about your presentation, or why we didn't choose you because we felt this other place had more of what we were looking for. And then when you ask them why you won, it's so valuable because you really hear the thought process, and that tells you how you're going to keep doing a good job for them, because that's what they valued about your presentation and talking about what the potential partnership would look like.
I couldn't agree more. It's so valuable. It's respectful. Please don't ghost. Friends don't ghost friends.
Ben, this was a delightful conversation. Thank you to our viewers for joining in. I hope you got the answer you needed today. And please do reach out to Ben. He can give you all that information on what agencies and client side need from RFPs. If you have a burning question, please put it in the comments. You can always email me at ahava.leibtag@ahamediagroup.com. See you soon.